Hey, welcome back to another episode of Real Conversation. I'm your host, Nicole Jones,
And I'm Quana Terry.
and we would like to thank you guys for joining us here tonight and letting you know that this is the space where we talk about real relationships, real pain, real growth without judgment, but with honesty.
That's
Let's not
right.
transparency. We love the transparency over here.
Absolutely. That's where you find true healing is just by being honest, being transparent, and giving yourself a little bit of grace as you go through certain trials and tribulations. But thank you so much for that intro, Nicole. It is cold outside. We had a couple of snowstorms, and the weather has been crazy, and the temperatures have been below, zero. And it's literally freezing outside. But, we're warm, we're in the house, and that is a blessing in itself.
Absolutely. I mean, it's not that cold here, but it is cold. Okay,
Yeah.
it's colder than I expected.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the southern states are like, what is going on? I think even parts of Florida is actually, really cold and they're getting ice and snow. And I tell you, it's taking a lot of people. It's actually surprising them, I should say.
Yes.
The weather is like, do I really need to go out and get a winter coat? I'm not supposed to have a winter coat. I'm living in the southern climate for a reason, and so a lot of people are definitely surprised about the weather. Another thing that's coming up is like another weather system coming for a lot of the Northeast as
Hmm.
well as some southern states. There's like a winter storm Giana coming in, and they're thinking it's going to be like what they call it, like a bomb cyclone or something like that. And I'm
Hmm.
like, what? And I remember the last bomb cyclone we had. I live in the mountains, of course, of Pennsylvania, and the last bomb cyclone I had, well, that was here was like, can you see me well, Nicole? You good?
Yeah, I can see you.
Oh, okay. The last bomb cyclone was like 2018 or something like that. And I remember because my honey had walked home in that and literally passed out in the snow. There was so much snow out there. Thankfully, there were some good Samaritans that were riding by on like one of those sleds, like riding by like on a
Yeah,
sled.
I remember that.
And they picked him up and brought him home. But it was crazy. It was like a literal hurricane, but with snow because the wind was going, at least the gusts were like 60 to 70 miles per hour. Power lines were down. It was just a mess. And I believe we were without power for like 7 days here in the Pocono Mountains. So listen, if this is going to be like that, I'm going to be devastated because I don't think that we're equipped. And there's a shortage of salt out there because everyone is getting salt. Everyone's getting the snow. So
Oh,
I got a notice from my homeowners association that there's a shortage of salt and to be patient with them. I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. But it is what it is. Are you getting snow in Georgia?
yes, they said this weekend actually. They said this weekend
Wow.
they're getting snow, and last weekend we received ice, right? We had ice, and it wasn't that bad. It wasn't as bad as I expected it to be. But I didn't have to go to work on Monday, so that was thank you God for that one. But yeah, this weekend we're supposed to get it. It says 21%, but everybody that I came in contact with today is talking about it, so it must be really bad.
Yeah, it is the talk of the town right now. Everyone's just keeping an eye on the news keeping an eye on the weather, and trying to prep for it. Because if you can't get out of your home and things of that nature, if there's no power, there's no nothing, you need like tuna, you need things like that are perishable, canned goods so that you may be able to eat if you can't get out. There's no power anywhere. It's just a lot, girl. Get you some crackers, some bread, little peanut butter and jelly or something like that, and try to ride it out if that is what's going to happen. So, yeah, I guess there's more to come on that. I guess we'll keep an eye on the weather system as the storm continues to move across the ocean into the Northeast. So we'll see what happens.
Well, I hope it doesn't come here.
I know.
How about that?
Listen, I'm hoping it doesn't come here. Like, leave Pennsylvania out of it. Like, skip us. Because it says something like Virginia, Maryland. I'm like, good, you do that and go straight to New Jersey. Don't come to PA. Go straight to New Jersey and New York. Like, go over there because I'm just not ready for it. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, God.
No, not New York. New York got hit really, really bad. I feel bad for everybody. I'm seeing all these posts. Everybody shoveling out their snow, their cars. It's taking hours to
They'll be
shovel.
all right.
And sanitation is pushing it right back. I think they need to get on board with like Canada. Okay, Canada picks up the snow and puts it in the truck as if they're picking up garbage. So start collecting the snow and stop pushing it on people's cars because you could actually have a heart attack just from shoveling your snow. You know what I mean? Shoveling the car out. You can get a heart attack from that.
And many people have. That last snowstorm that we had here in Pennsylvania, four people, from what I understand, in a county adjacent to mine passed away, all because of the stress on their heart whilst shoveling snow. So it does happen. And these were older adults, of course, they were between the ages of 60 and 85. My suggestion is if you see someone, an elder out there that's shoveling their snow, if you happen to catch them, take that shovel from them, and if you can, if you're able-bodied, help them shovel their snow, because we don't want things like that happening going forward where, the elderly is out there, they have no one, they can't, they have to do it on their own. But you have perfectly able-bodied people living across the street or down the road that could assist them with shoveling their snow. So
I
if
agree.
you happen to see that coming, going forward, make sure you stop or head down the street or across the street and lend a hand. I know that they would greatly appreciate it.
They, for sure. Definitely.
Yes. So more to come on that weather system. We'll keep you updated on our Real Conversation 2021 page on Facebook. Of course, I will be posting a bunch of weather related memes because what else am I going to be doing? And like I said, we'll keep you updated in the rest of that progress. So more to come.
Yeah, so that looks super crazy. And again, like I said, more to come on the weather system that's moving towards the Northeast this weekend. Um, the other thing that we had to talk about, Nicole, and we spoke about this a number of times, where, and if you could just bear with me, where we talk about being betrayed by our partners or even by friends, and allowing ourselves to forgive those people that have betrayed us or that we feel have betrayed us, right? And
Yes.
it's so hard to do that, and a lot of people cannot do that, or they say that they forgive, but anytime an argument comes up, they mention that topic in the argument. So it's like, okay, did you really forgive, or are you still holding on to that trauma? What do you think about that?
Well, forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting, right? But at the same time, if you're telling somebody that you're forgiving them, that means you're willing to let go of what took place. That incident that took place is not supposed to come up in any future arguments. That's a problem that a lot of people have. They always want to sit there and bring up what's going on in the past. But the moment that you decided to forgive that person, that means you forgave them and you need to be moving forward, you know? Because if you didn't forgive them, you need to be honest with that, be transparent, allow them to, because you have, it is, it is, your right to go through whatever emotions it is that you need to go through. But the moment you decide to let that person stay or come back or whatever, that's a done deal. What do you think?
I agree with that to a certain extent.
Okay.
And I'm just trying to formulate my thoughts, articulate my thoughts. I feel as if sometimes you forgive, like your mind says I forgive, but your heart says otherwise. Your heart also needs to go through a healing of some sort, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
there's a betrayal, there's a trauma, there's now trust issues that have arisen.
Mm-hmm.
And it is hard to get your heart and your mind on the same page in a lot of ways, in a lot of things. So while you may say yes, I forgive you, there are certain triggers that may come up, and sometimes you can't help it. Your heart
Mm-hmm.
is saying, dang, like, why did this happen? So then you start to replay the whole situation all over again, and then now you're back at square one.
But you're not supposed to. That's the thing.
That's correct, but it's a
Mm-hmm.
perfectly normal response. Is what I'm just trying to say. You're not supposed to, or when you say you forgive someone and you move past it, you're not supposed to revisit it. But it happens more often than not because we're human, and that's a normal human response.
I mean, it is for an unhealed person.
Mhm.
So because this is my thing, you're supposed to go through every emotion you're supposed to go through before you allow that person to come back, before you forgive that person. In order to get past it, right? And some people can't get past it, so they choose not to forgive. They choose to move on from the person. But if you choose, because 9 times out of 10, people choose because they love a person so much, they choose to stay with that person, right? But the moment you choose to stay, that's a choice you made. And that's a choice you made, that conscious decision for yourself because you want to stay with that person. So, yeah. Um if your person cheated on you and you knew about it, or you found out, I should say, you found out about it, right? You confronted that person about it. Um, you deal with the emotions. You decide to bring them back. You cannot throw that up in their face every single time, because that just means that you didn't do the process that needed to be done for yourself. Because this has nothing to do. It's not saying that you forgot that it happened. It's not saying that. Now, if you guys are sitting up here being two adults talking about past things that happened and y'all revisiting, that's one thing. But when you're arguing with a person, or you think every time they go out that door they're cheating, no, that's not fair to you, and that's not fair to the other person. Because this is what I would say. You cannot heal a relationship if one person is constantly on trials.
I can agree with that. And I think coming from I think it's different because I think the way that you're speaking is in a context of somebody who you're not married to. If you're married to a person and you have to be in that space with that person every single day, it
Mm-hmm.
really is hard to be able to heal in a space when you were hurt. So unless there's a level of separation that happens, which in a lot of cases, people have whole families, and they have to put on this facade that they're okay, in the face of their families. Say for instance, their children, they
Mm-hmm.
have to put on this face that they're okay, all the while hurting inside. So it's kind of hard to um heal, like I said, in the space, in the place in which you were hurt. It's hard to do that. So that requires a different level of patience, accountability, as well as healing. A lot of things need to take place during that time. So it literally, you know, you have to give that person that was betrayed some grace, and then the
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
person, right, and then the
Mm-hmm.
person that has done the betrayal also needs to have patience with the person that has been betrayed. So there's a level of
Mm-hmm.
grace, a level of patience, and some deep, intense healing that needs to happen in order for the trust to be restored in a relationship.
So I'm gonna touch base on what you just said because I don't think it matters if a person is just in a relationship, long term relationship, or married, because people move in together all the time. They've been together for a long time. It's the same as if they're. It's like they're married, but not on paper. And pain is pain. So it doesn't matter if you're married a person. If you love a person, if you truly love a person, that doesn't change because they're not married.
I
You know
was
what I mean? The
speaking
pain that
from
they
the
receive.
I was speaking from the standpoint of being separated, because you said then you come back together. When you're
So when I
married or when you're living together, there's no sense of separation. You're
so when I
just
said
there
that,
in that
let me
person's face.
wait. Let me clarify what I meant by that.
Okay.
Because a lot of people when someone cheats on them, what do? The first thing they tell them to do is to get out, right? They tell them to get out of the house, leave. Um, some come back, some go in a hotel, some go to their girlfriend's house or boyfriend's house or their family house. You don't know how long it's gonna take before they get there. Some people try to get back the very next day. Some try to get back that night. Some try to. Every situation is different. So if you're in a relationship or if you're married or whatever, I mean, I've seen married couples kick their partner out once a betrayal happened. I've seen, and the same thing for people who weren't married, but they living together. I think the only people, and I'm not saying that the pain is not the same, but it's a little easier because if you don't live with a person, you don't have to see their face. You don't have to miss them because they was there. You don't have to go through all that. You just move on. Your day to day doesn't change because that person didn't live with you. But if a person lives with you, you guys reside in a home, and someone does leave because you kicked them out, or they mad at you and they leave. There's an empty space, and you have to deal with what took place a little harder, a little more than if you didn't live with them. I was just saying, I don't think that the marriage part of it matters if you have a ring on your finger or not. If you living together, you know, across the board, living together across the board, and that person, you kick that person out because they cheated. You found out that
Well,
they cheated. That's what
absolutely.
I'm saying.
And my intent was not to make one thing better than the other, or put
Oh yeah,
it,
yeah, I know.
it's more so, I'm speaking from the context in which you said you didn't clarify, so I
I
just took that
didn't.
and ran with it. So now you clarify, so we're good
Mhm.
there. I think that when emotional, like true emotional reconciliation needs to
Mhm.
happen, that healing needs to happen before anything can actually go to the next page, because some people want to just turn the page. Okay, let's sweep it underneath the rug, especially the person that has done the betrayal. That person always wants to be like, okay, well, how long is it going to take? There's a level of patience that needs to happen, because listen, you weren't the one that was cheated on. You weren't the one that, was betrayed in this.
Right.
And you have to give that person a level of grace, of course, and as well as patience to be able to deal with what just happened. Especially if it came out of nowhere, right?
Oh right.
You know, that person's going to be struggling with the pain and the mistrust and everything else, all the feels. You know how it is. All the
And they
feels
don't
that you
understand that.
feel. Huh?
A lot of people don't get that too. The people who are the cheaters don't get that part. The cheaters don't understand the scars that they just cause this person to have. There's a
Yeah.
lot of scars that come with being cheated on. There's a lot of, because the first thing you do is you blame yourself. You don't, and you ain't got nothing to do with it. But that's the first thing you do is you blame yourself. Like, what did I do? Why did I like what could I have done to make him want to stay, or
Yeah.
or not go out there and find something else? And it didn't have to be anything that you've done. It's just what that person did.
Yeah, it's a trauma response, and
Yeah.
then in some cases the man or the woman ends up feeling insecure or maybe feel unloved,
Yes.
and as the pain resurfaces, they and I talked about triggers in the beginning, where when the pain resurfaces, you're like, okay, you start to think of it all over again. It's almost like a form of emotional PTSD,
Yeah. Oh,
right?
yes.
Like it's just
Yes.
like that. It's like, oh my gosh. So then it there's certain triggers and certain behaviors that come back up, and then you're back at square one trying to figure it out. So it in that it's going to take a lot of therapy, a lot of patience, a lot of what did I say before? A lot of patience, a lot of trust, just a lot of understanding as well, in order for you both to get past this, because betrayals can make or break any type of relationship, whether
Mhm.
romantic or platonic.
Yes.
It can make or break that. So, and what I want people to do is also be prepared to sever the tie,
Hmm.
because you can sever the tie physically, but you may not sever the tie emotionally. And then that baggage travels with you into every single relationship. And you're trying to figure
Until
out
you stop
why
it. Until you
until
don't
you
allow
stop
that
it,
to
right?
happen. But I also want
Exactly.
to say this because Shaquana said get counseling. So for those of you, I think counseling is great, but for those of you who don't get counseling, right? The next thing that you can do is write journals, but because you need to get it out. You need to be able to get it out. You don't have to always talk to somebody, but you definitely need to get it out of your system. Write that down, reread it later on so you can see, your journey and how you're able to how you grew from the situation.
Yeah.
But because the moment you keep it bottled inside, it's gonna take so long for you to heal from that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And, counseling and, of course, journaling are one of the many ways that you can release hurt and pain and trauma caused by, relationships or betrayals. There's so many different ways that you can be able to do that. So it's best that you find what's best for you, how you heal in the space that you can heal, and in the way that you need to heal for you, so that you can get past it. And accepting that certain things happens, and sometimes accepting that there may not be any closure, because you may not even understand why someone has done you wrong. You may not even understand that, but also accepting that, hey, listen, I may not understand this, but I'm going to accept it and move forward. And I think it's necessary for personal healing, personal growth, and for other things, So it's a lot going on with that. But while you're giving grace, also receiving grace, make sure that you are loving on yourself, taking the time that you need to make sure that you are the best version of yourself, even after the betrayal. And I recommend just being patient, giving yourself, again, some grace, and move forward if you can. So, what
Yeah.
else is that in, Nicole? What else you got?
Well, I mean, it's very important to also, have them boundaries, set those boundaries. It's very
Mhm.
important. Boundaries are not disrespectful. They're very necessary for growth. So, you really need to set those boundaries just to, get yourself, ahead of this. Because
Correct.
it, when you're the one that's cheated on, like the other person keeps going. You're the one that becomes stagnant because you end up being stuck in that moment, and you need to get yourself out of that. You know?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Um, and another thing, a little tidbit I want to add is nobody expects you to be an emotional punching bag. Okay. If this is repeated behavior, okay, whatever the betrayal is, it now becomes emotional abuse.
Mm.
And with that, you can always speak to someone else to determine whether or not that relationship is reconcilable.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to stand up for someone constantly putting you through that emotional roller coaster, beating you down emotionally and sometimes physically as well as spiritually. You don't have to take that. So if that is your issue, if that's something that you're experiencing, I think that you need to speak to someone, because if it is taking a toll on you physically and emotionally, most times it's going to take a toll on you spiritually, and that's not what God intended a relationship to entail. So,
Right.
all right, well, that is all we have for you tonight. Nicole, we are here. We are going to be here every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Please like, share, and subscribe. We are here on YouTube at real_convos_podcast. And we're also on Facebook. Where can they find us, Nicole?
At Real Conversations 2021.
Okay, well, thank you all so much for watching. Stay warm and God bless.